everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Paperless Conversation with VKS. I am your host, Kalina Spooner, so I'd like to welcome everyone back. Happy spring. The sun is shining. I hope the glare isn't too much. We're still working from home, but things are starting to look up. So, again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the third episode. In today's episode, we will be talking specifically about partnerships in manufacturing, and I have brought in one of my colleagues, Matthew Sampson. So thank you so much, Matthew.
My pleasure.
So I'd like to just introduce you a little bit. So
Yep.
you are the director of our partnership division here at VKS. And previously to that, you were a sales engineer. So I thought maybe before we kind of dive in, you could talk a little bit about, your role before you started at VKS
Yep.
and then how you kind of jumped in ship and joined our team. So I'll let you take it away. And thank you again for joining today.
Pleasure. It's nice to finally be part of this podcast for sure. So where I started, actually, I started as a mechanical engineer working in manufacturing environment. I had kind of like the role of many hats, I would say, because we were kind of like a small team where we were. So I was doing process improvements, quality, setting up databases, creating the work instructions.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I lived through lots of those pains during this time because we were building, as most of the current manufacturing companies, they build their work instructions on paper. And often you don't really know there's a better solution to this. So I was experiencing some of the pains, and then eventually the company got transferred somewhere in the US. So they were looking to get all the work instructions done in like 3 months of time.
Oh, wow. Crunch time.
It was. I didn't have time to do all that for sure. I was already late with my outdated processes. So I told actually the VP of operations, I don't think it's gonna get done in time. It's just too much. And he said, find a solution. So I bought some GoPro cameras, and some people were putting it on their heads, and it was hanging over workstation, just making sure we at least filmed everything, get that on the hard drive. And then I moved there for a couple of months to train the new operators that would take over this job. So I did my best. And after those 3 months, I was looking for a new job, and then I found VKS, and it was kind of solving every pain point that I had. So going there, I did more of it a support and training job, and then moved on to partnerships.
Well, that's awesome. I know, it's been pretty cool to work with you. You actually trained me a lot of times and helped me with my pitch and learning about the product. So it's been cool to see you evolve into now the role of basically you're managing and directing our partnership division. So I thought maybe we could just talk a little bit about, oh, sorry about that. The glare is starting to come in, but I thought maybe we could take a little bit of time to talk about partnerships in manufacturing. Yep. Kind of like the do's and don'ts. I know from our perspective, VKS, as everyone knows, and those who are new, VKS is a digital work instruction software. And trade shows have been a huge part of our sales process, and just being able to network and meet new people, meet new customers, meet new partners. And now with trade shows hopefully starting to start up again in the fall, but because of COVID, I know VKS, we kind of were at a standstill as to, okay, what are some new outlets, new ventures that will help continue to brand awareness and just get VKS out in the market, but two, maybe start in new different outlets, new different areas. So I know that partnerships was a huge win for us with respect to getting new partners and us joining, vice versa. So getting new partners and being part of other partnerships. So I thought maybe you could spend a little bit of time about talking about the do's and don'ts in with respect to partnerships in manufacturing specifically, and then we could kind of talk about the different types and the networking and all that stuff. So
yeah, sure. So as you said, creating partnerships like that is right now it's more important than ever. Because we need new pillars to evolve, and that's where the industry is going. You have trouble with your sun flare, right?
I know, eh? I'm secretly in Barbados, but no. All right.
All right, that would be great though. Okay, so yeah, dudes, for sure, make sure partnerships are symbiotic. Like you need a common objective, you need to make it clear, and it needs to benefit equally both parties. Otherwise, one's going to try to move it forward, and the
Yeah.
other's not going to be incentivized to do so. So it's not really going to go anywhere. So you really trying to find that middle point where it's exactly equally beneficial for all, for sure. You try to maintain interest, communicate often for sure. So get people aware of new, maybe, I don't know, features that you have out or new avenues, or if you have some promotions that are going to go out, make sure you communicate with them. Make sure to get their feedback also
Yeah.
on as to like where they're going at with their opportunities and all that, to make sure that you know which ones are worth to work on and push a little bit more.
Hmm.
Going to keep good records for sure. Make sure you have a good like a legal agreement laid out as well, because that's gonna be very very important. And try to find like what their weakness is, and on their part they gotta match it with our weakness. So again, that
So you
relation's
have
kind
like
of
a
like
joint
this.
offering. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, for sure. And yeah, just don't rely also solely like on partners to do some of the tasks. Like you'll have to help them as well, again, to make it equal from both sides. And there's no point in forcing in partnerships either. uh, Again, if they're not incentivized on working on this, there's no point in pushing it. It's not going to go
Mhm.
anywhere, plainly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, just the do's and don'ts about it, and making sure that there's, like you mentioned, communication is key. Having incentives for both parties.
Yep.
So maybe to defer or to step back a little bit. What are some of the types of partnerships that we would find in manufacturing specifically? Because I mean, there's such a broad entity and it's so big and vast. But maybe you could narrow down a couple. Even communicate a little bit about what we at VKS do, and then that would maybe we would be able to educate others and either following suit or maybe even just opening different ventures and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we have like two main types of partners when we're talking about partners, and the first type is, I feel it's really catered to manufacturings,
Okay.
which is mainly like consultants.
Okay.
So we have a nice product for manufacturing, but the main thing is often you don't know you need it until you know that it exists. And
Yeah.
once you know, then it kind of becomes like a no-brainer. So
Hmm.
our goal is to work with consultants or like engineering firms,
Okay.
distributors, integrators, agents, which could be like people that worked in the manufacturing field for like years, and now they're trying to bring some knowledge into some of those companies. And mostly, then what consultants would be doing is the same thing. They get hired by a manufacturing company because they have a need to maybe standardize their job, increase their efficiency, increase their
Hmm.
quality. So if we work with those consultants, with VKS being just like another tool on their belt to increase the ROI of their customer, then that consultant has a gain there. So we try to get on board those types of partners just so that they're aware that VKS exists. So if they find a customer that has that need, uh, then they can refer VKS to us. So usually consultants and those types of partners are more of like a referral partner where they
Okay.
identify a company that needs VKS. We go and see them, demo the product. They can do it on their own if they want, and then eventually work together for the implementation of VKS in this facility. So that's the first type.
Okay.
Second type, we're looking more into like strategic partners,
All right.
which would be any complementary software or equipment. So let's say we are like a work instruction software, right? But there might be another software that what they do is monitoring the effectiveness of some machines, like what
Okay.
machine metrics would be doing, for example. So our goal here is to join our two products together so we can have a better offering for potential customers. So to find those strategic partners, what we would be trying to do is to look at our weakness,
Hmm.
see again, like if you're doing demonstrations to customers and you realize your product's not going to cut it because it's missing some of those features. Well, this should give you the idea of, okay, maybe there's a strategic partner somewhere that I can ally myself with to make sure we patch those weaknesses and offer just a better product. So it could be this, or maybe just to tap into new verticals that you
Hmm.
would be able to go in. Like, let's say we want to bring VKS into hospitals. Let's say maybe there's another a partner offering some kind of softwares or equipment there that would benefit using VKS, and it benefits us because we can tap into that vertical now. So
Hmm.
it's to identify those verticals and new products and weaknesses, and then to get that going, you want to first try to evaluate what's the added value there.
Okay.
Um, and the classic sentence would be like 1 + 1 = 3. So both together gives it more than just both like individually,
Hmm.
for sure. So we list those value added like gains. I would say
Okay.
list them, trying to find like a common customer or potential opportunity or lead that would be interested in testing out that integration. Get it going, build a use case, and then let marketing do its thing to create that case study, and then attract more opportunities from this.
Okay, cool. So to kind of essentially, do like a mini project or like a mini pilot, and to start off small, and then if that kind of goes off, then you continue and kind of expand to other opportunities.
Exactly, yeah, because lots of those big companies they'll want proof. You can
Yeah.
say, okay, we can integrate our softwares together. VKS can come on this equipment and give you a lot of benefits, but they'll want proof. So you got
Yeah.
to start with a use case first and then roll it out, just to give some confidence.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, we do that as well in sales, same thing with marketing. The more I feel use cases and the more that this can resonate with someone else's company, then boom, then you've kind of, you've locked them in,
Yep.
and because they see themselves within that company as well. So that's awesome. With you were showing kind of the two different means of partnerships. Now, another question that we have a lot when we either have calls or when we meet people, how would one go about picking? Like, how would one decide as to, okay, do we want to be, more consultancy or more kind of referral or something like that? How would we go about that?
Often it will just depend on this other partner what they
What they
prefer.
need. Okay, what they
Yeah, and
prefer. Okay.
we're very flexible, and that's another do of doing partnerships is make sure you adapt to what the other partner need to again find the equal between both
Hmm.
parties. So, as an example, with consultants, if they become a referral partner
Hmm.
and they are working with a manufacturing company that is interested in VKS, well, at that point, that partner can either let us do the demonstration of VKS, let us do the training, the implementation there,
Hmm.
and they would still get a referral commission in a certain
Okay.
case. Or they might want to do the demo themselves. They might want
Okay.
to do the whole implementation and training themselves, or it could be a mix between like us and them doing those demonstrations and implementation. And it wouldn't matter. Our goal is just that the partner is happy. So we kind of like follow through with what they would prefer. They would prefer to do. So yeah, that's in case of a referral partner. They can become this if they prefer, or you could also be a straight up reseller of VKS if you want. So let's say
Okay.
you want to take over a certain geographical region market, and you want to straight up do the all the support yourself. Then you would be a reseller, which would means you kind of like purchase the product from us, and then
Okay.
you resell it to that other market, but you take over everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? It all depends on, I guess, that company's bandwidth, how much training they would
Exactly. Yep.
need with, and kind of just, but like you had mentioned, I think it's key from the get-go. One of the things that I think can resonate with a lot of companies is making sure that you have that line of communication open in whatever partnership you end up going down, right? Because like you had mentioned, if the company ends up wanting to resell your product, you want to make sure that they have documentation and that they're trained in what they're selling, because at the end of the day, if they're the ones who are going to be pitching, for example, in our situation, VKS, we want to make sure that they know the product inside and out, because this will be the first time that, their end customer will have heard about it, right? So we want to
Yep.
make sure, like you had mentioned, both
For
sides
sure.
are fully aware, and communication is key. So
Yeah, and
no, I think
even they
it's, yeah.
go. even if they would go on the reseller route, like in the beginning, of course, we support as much as possible, because in the end, a win for them is a win for us. So we'll do everything we can so that it happens.
Yeah.
But staying flexible is one of the key elements in partnerships, to make sure you get to a point where they are willing to forge that partnership, instead of you trying to put them into this square box of,
To the
okay,
square
you will
box, yeah.
do referral and we will do all the demonstration and all. No, you work with them. And you might
Yeah.
also find some kind of partners that are not gaining necessarily like monetary benefits either. Like there
Hmm.
are some consulting firms that they want to stay independent and
Hmm.
not get a commission when they refer VKS, because that's their selling point for those other manufacturing companies to get their services, and that's perfectly well. It works very well. It means that, we know it works well because our products is good as well. So I mean, if that customer has a need that can be patched by the service, whether they get a commission or not, that consulting company will still refer a product like VKS or other products that fit other needs, because their goal is so that their customer gets an ROI.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like you had mentioned, there needs to be something for both parties to kind of decide to join up, either it's to fully finish the project or to just be having a more fulfilled type of offer, right? Like we don't do this, but our partner does. So if you sign with us, you get two for the, not necessarily for the price of one, but you can get two opportunities kind of locked in one. So
Yep.
that's awesome. So one more thing that I kind of would like to ask you is, do you have any more tips or any more benefits that you could kind of attest to from having been in this role now for a year and having been on both sides, right? So like you had mentioned, VKS, we do have a lot of partners that we work with. So we have people who sign up with us so that they can have VKS as their offering, but then we also partner up with other customers where VKS is on the other end. So we're in the position where you understand both sides, right? You understand the
Yep.
benefits of being a partner and a partneree. So I thought maybe, what are some more tips or what could be more reasons to incentivize either a manufacturing company or consultants to gain, to be part of a partnership agreement?
Yeah, well, first thing for on our side, and I'm still going to lay out those benefits in case other people are listening in and they are in our situation where they offer an equipment or software and want to work with resellers and
Okay.
referral partners and all that. First thing, of course, is reaching out those new verticals, as I
Mhm.
mentioned. Like if we want to tackle the hospital world and offer a service there, we need to work with somebody that already knows this market, and maybe they already have a product or they already have some
Mhm.
contacts in there that will help us get there. Also, if you work with those people, they'll know how to adapt your solution to make sure it fits
Mhm.
well with them. Since VKS is really tailored to manufacturing, there's some things we got to change, and there's some things that they know we got to implement in a certain way to make it work. So that's very important. And also for us, well, it lets us tap into those verticals.
Yeah,
Second benefit would be visibility for sure,
for
because
sure.
we
Yeah.
tap into other lead lists, whether we work with a complementary product or we work with some, again, consulting company. They have existing clients. They're going to go and
Mhm.
reach out to people. So that's good for us, of course. Then there's that whole tapping into new geographical territories.
Yeah, that's been really big for us too, I think.
That is huge because I mean, we speak lots of languages in VKS, but there's lots of languages in the world. So let's say we want to tackle, I don't know, let's say India. Well, we'll want some partners that live there, work there, that knows the culture and the language to bring VKS, because otherwise it's going to be hard to train if you don't
Yeah.
speak the local language for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
and
So
I
that's
mean,
all.
not just to interject, but the fact that our company has grown, right? And now we have a couple locations in Europe too. So, like you mentioned, having a presence there is so important because sometimes whether they need, hands-on assistance or even just like you had mentioned, having a partner who is able to speak that language, so who can even act as a mediator or a translator and making sure that one, that their offer is acceptable and that they understand it, but two, I feel even just helping with the documentation, being able to have that translated. Like we're lucky in the sense that one of our colleagues is in Germany and he speaks German, but if we hadn't, to try and get that documentation translated. You might need a third party. Google doesn't always do the trick. So just like you had mentioned, having that aspect of partners in geographical locations, I think, is so important to getting your product there. And the partner just adds, I think, a layer of what's the word I'm looking for? Like credibility, like they're able to back up your product. And because if they use it well and we've partnered with them and this is a big partner opportunity, then I trust the local people there. So I think that, like you mentioned, that's a really big plus. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And even like we'll have a customer somewhere that's going to say, oh, can you have someone go on site? Well, we can't because we're pretty far away and wouldn't make sense to go on there for like a day and fly off. But if we have a partner there, then it's easy. And for the partner, it's beneficial as well because they can bill hours to that company they're visiting and giving their services. So again, win-win. Other win is it lets us scale without hiring. Again, we don't have to hire a whole team in India. We can just work with a partner instead. So it lets us grow big without, again, the added the added salaries of creating a huge team of people. And also sometimes consultants just plainly help customers get up to speed faster, which is a huge gain for us. Because sometimes you'll try to sell VKS to somebody and they have a good reason where, okay, right now we don't have the personnel to go and create work instructions. But if you have a partner on there that can do this work or it can help implement VKS faster, and it's a win for us.
Yeah. And just one more thing that I thought I would maybe bring up. I know I'd mentioned it back at the beginning, but trade shows. So, like, COVID has kind of brought a lot of changes to not only strategic planning, but just how companies function moving forward, between remote working, between, travel restrictions right now. And I think that for some companies, being able to kind of join into partnerships, I think that alleviates a lot of those restrictions that have been put in place because of COVID. So like you mentioned, if, for example, VKS, we did want to go to Italy, or we wanted to go meet a customer in Europe, or, somewhere in Asia, as of right now, we can't, right? Because we'd have to come home, we'd have to quarantine. But having a partner there, being able to follow those COVID regulations that might be in place in that city or that country is a huge win. And just to go back to trade shows, I think moving forward, trade shows are going to see a big boom in strategic partnerships as well. I mean, I know trade shows for a lot of people has always been about, you go, you're getting leads, you go there to get new customers. But I think moving forward, trade shows is also going to see a kind of a shift with, people are going to now start to walk the floor and scout potential partners and not just customers.
I agree, because it's been going like crazy this year because of the pandemic. Like you look at statistics of partner management softwares, they're just tripling in headcount. It's crazy, and it's there for a reason, for sure. I mean, lots of benefits in having partners and partnering with equipment or softwares. Again, for example, the consultant that will work with us, they have benefits as well. Of course, they can get a commission if they want. They can resell VKS. They can stay independent. Commission is usually a bonus, because most of the monetary incentive is going to come with selling your added value services to the customer, helping to implement VKS there. So you're going to work there for a couple of days or weeks to implement VKS. So those hours are going to bring you money in as well on top of that commission. Also, it gives you just another tool on your belt. The industry is changing very rapidly, so it's super important for consultants to really know about all the tools on the market, because again, like work instruction software, it's still a bit of the in the unknown, but it's growing so fast. Everybody's going to go paperless, and if you don't look at what the market has to offer in terms of new technology, you're going to be behind your competitors for sure. And the last benefit is, of course, even the main one, is to make sure your customer gets an ROI fast, a return on investment. So you want to give them the right tool to make sure that they gain this. So to give them the right tool, you need a tool for every need. And for sure, VKS helps with that. It's always useful as well, because VKS, it's not like a big software that takes like months to learn on how to implement and customize and things like that. You can start using VKS like right away. You could build a guidebook, a generic guidebook under an hour, and put that on all the workstations of your shop floor. Write this, and consultants love this because it means they get an ROI like day one by implementing it there for sure. So big plus, because then it's going to be word of mouth. Then it's going to be a case study for you. You're going to be able to go to other manufacturing companies and let them know that, hey, we improved their efficiency by X amount. We reduced their quality issues by X amount, and etc.
Yeah. Well, like, I think everything you had mentioned, especially like you said, the ROI is so important, getting into new geographical locations, trade shows, just being able to help alleviate some of your weaknesses, and, just partnerships is such an important aspect of having a company. I think that a lot of people now are just slowly starting to realize the potential that it can have, especially now because of COVID. So COVID has kind of opened people's eyes to new ventures and new means of getting your product kind of, either visible or just in the market. So I really want to thank you for joining today. You've been very, very helpful. You've kind of showed us the do's and don'ts, the different types of partnerships. And, if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about, VKS's partnerships and the different offerings that we have, Matt, I'm going to give them your email. So very sorry about all the, hopefully you get lots of reach outs, but you can always reach out to Matthew directly. So what I'll do is at the end of our video, I'll have his email up on the website, on our YouTube page, I should say. And like I said, if you're just interested in learning more about the product, you can always visit us at www.vksapp.com. Again, thank you so much for joining, and stay tuned for our next Paperless Conversation. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.